to order. It is Monday, December 8th, 2025. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. Full house tonight. It's nice to see you all. We are going to start the evening off with our Accentuate the Positive, and we will have Mr. Bowles and Mr. Burke come on up.
All right, superstar students, can you guys come up with us, please? Please. I'll be brief. Mr. Burke is the one in charge of all this stuff. I'm just the principal. But I will say, and I want to thank you for letting us recognize these students. You know, we have different teams come in front of you that win state, get different awards, and these guys are like the academic superstars of our school. They do lots of other things, but man, oh man, are they smart. And they work hard, and they are absolutely amazing. So I want them to know publicly how proud I am of all their hard work and how they represent our school. Now I'll give it to Mr. Burke.
Now for the prepared statement part. I don't do off the
He was
cuff.
worried what I was going to say.
Once again, thank you for the opportunity to accentuate the positive with you again this evening. I'm so privileged tonight to speak about an incredibly impressive academic achievement accomplished by a few New Palestine High School students. Every fall, the AP program recognizes high school students who have demonstrated outstanding college-level achievement through their performance on multiple AP exams. The program has three categories of recognition: the AP Scholar with Honors, and AP Scholar with Distinction. To be an AP Scholar, students must average a score of 3 or higher on 3 more exams. In AP Scholar with Honor, a student must average a 3.25 on all AP exams and 3 or higher on 4 exams. Upon receiving our 2025 AP scores, we were notified by College Board that we had 22 New Palestine High School students who received the highest honor, AP Scholar with Distinction. This is up from 20 students last year, 12 the year before that, and 6 in 2022. These students received an average score of 3.5 on all AP exams taken and a score of 3 or higher on 5 or more of these exams. Nationwide, approximately 10% of students are recognized as an AP Scholar at some point during high school, with only select few receiving the recognition of AP Scholar with Distinction. I'm so happy tonight to be joined with 5 of these scholars: Madeline Gariak, Stephanie Girolami, Mackenzie Hacker, Andrew Herdig, and Blake Hurst. They all took time out of their busy schedules to attend tonight to be honored. Most of these students will be leaving directly from here to go to their We the People practice as they prepare for their state competition on Wednesday. The high school administration team and staff are incredibly proud of these students, and once again, are very gracious for a chance to celebrate this accomplishment with you. Thank you.
Thank you both. And this evening, Mr. Hooker has a letter that he's going to present from the board.
Advanced Placement Scholar with Distinction. The New Palestine Community School Boards of Trustees congratulate you on your designation as an Advanced Placement Scholar with Distinction. This remarkable achievement is a testament to your dedication, perseverance, and outstanding academic performance. To qualify for this award, you achieved an impressive average score of at least 3.5 across all AP exams and scored 3 or higher on 5 or more of these rigorous assessments. This distinction represents the highest recognition awarded by the Advanced Placement Program, highlighting your commitment to academic excellence. Your achievements reflect not only your hard work and determination, but also the values of excellence that define New Palestine Community Schools. We are proud to celebrate this milestone with you and recognize your contribution to the tradition of success within our schools. We appreciate your dedication and investment in your education while attending New Palestine High School. We sincerely wish you the very best in all your future endeavors. Congratulations.
Okay, good job. Congratulations.
Take a photo.
Congratulations.
That's as close to AP as I'll ever get.
All right, that's one of your big smiles.
This is the best seat. That's the best one. Yeah, I was gonna say, it's not gonna sit for a while.
All right, well, we're gonna head to their We the People practice, and next, this is fun and exciting. We are dressed for the occasion. We have Brandywine Elementary School 2025 Indiana Blue Ribbon School Recognition. Brandywine Drive.
All right, sounds good.
I'll sit with you.
Come on.
Come on.
Tell him, Mr. Theobald.
Yeah. Comes in there by Mrs. Easton. She doesn't bite.
Not very hard. These wonderful people.
All right, well, we are super excited to celebrate this milestone. To give you a little bit of background, the actual Blue Ribbon was a federal program that started all the way back in 1982. And this is a program that recognized schools for high academic achievement or significant progress. And that was what our target was in the very beginning, to recognize this outstanding elementary school. However, in 2025, that particular program was eliminated at the federal level. So the very next thing that occurred is an outstanding thing that we kind of want to say thank you, we want to say thank you to our Secretary of Education, Dr. Katie Jenner, and also to Governor Braun for saying, hold on just a second, this is very important. And we're going to do something special. We're going to create the Indiana Blue Ribbon Schools. So for the first time in history, they created that special honor, and this group of educators now has that designation and honor. This new state designation recognizes schools that demonstrate exemplary academic performance and innovative approaches to meeting the needs of students. That is the Indiana focus. So I'm proud to let Austin Theobald, who is the principal at Brandywine, kind of share a little bit more. But we are so just proud and excited to honor Brandywine Elementary this evening.
Yeah, thank you. First, I'd just like to say thank you to all of you for recognizing my school tonight. These people are absolutely incredible, and I'm so proud of them. Many of you got to come to our celebration, before Thanksgiving break, and then we had the Educational Excellence Gala, which was just like, it was something that I hope that every educator gets to take part in someday. It was really outstanding. But as a result of that, we've actually had, by the way, you guys look awesome. But as a result of, the gala and just some of the recognition that we've had, I've had people from around the state reach out to us, and they want to know, what New Palestine Community Schools is doing, and they want to know what Brandywine, did to earn our award. And so, I've met with a couple of them. They want to know about our resources, and they want to know about our programs and things like that. And I think after all of these conversations that I've had with them, the thing that is just solidified in my mind, and I hope that they leave with, is it's really more about everything about the people and the processes that we have in place in New Palestine Community Schools and Brandywine Elementary. We have, my staff, obviously, you guys let me hire, and we have veteran staff that are just absolutely incredible educators. Everyone from my front office staff to the custodians and the bus drivers and instructional assistants, counselors, everybody, and of course my teachers. They deliver absolutely amazing instruction every day, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, just day in and day out, and it's precise and meets all of our kids' needs. They believe in our processes. You've heard us talk about win time for years. I'm sure that I need time to, no matter where our kids fall on the spectrum of learning, they're getting their needs met every single day in our school. We have, our MTSS process, and we have our PLCs, which just drives our student learning. But the thing that I think, I'm proud of all of that, of course, but what I think is so special about my school is the way that these people hold relationships above everything. The relationships with their kids, the relationships with their families, and of course with each other. And it sounds so silly to say this out loud in a room full of educators, but they know and they believe that the work that they're doing is making a difference every day in the lives of our Brandywine Bulldogs, and that is so, so important. And I just feel very blessed to come to work every day with them, and thank you for honoring us today.
You're a little teary here, Mr. Theobald. That was really beautiful. I'm honored to present your letter this evening. Mr. Theobald and the Brandywine Elementary School staff, the New Palestine Community Schools Board of Trustees congratulates you on your designation as one of the state's first Indiana Blue Ribbon schools. We would like to express our deepest congratulations and appreciation for this well-deserved recognition. The Indiana Blue Ribbon designation represents the highest standard of educational excellence in the state, and acknowledgement reserved for schools that demonstrate exceptional student growth, extreme commitment to high-quality instruction, and a positive, supportive learning environment for all children. This achievement reflects who you are every day: skillful educators, caring mentors, and dedicated professionals who place students at the center of all you do. Your work extends far beyond classrooms. You collaborate, innovate, and create opportunities that help students thrive academically, socially, and emotionally. This award is a tribute not only to outstanding student performance, but also to your leadership, your relationships with families, and the strong culture of pride and purpose that defines Brandywine Elementary School. Thank you for the countless ways you elevate learning, support one another, and represent New Palestine Community Schools with excellence. You have made your school, corporation, and community incredibly proud, and this recognition stands as a testament to your commitment to every Bulldog who walks through your doors. Congratulations on earning this distinguished honor of becoming an Indiana Blue Ribbon school. Your work continues to shine as an example for New Palestine Community Schools and for the entire state.
She's so excited.
Yeah, I was just everybody in. Yep.
Go all squeeze in here, you got to go in the back. Take a knee.
No offense.
All right, I think I got everybody in the picture. Big smiles, awesome. Go Bulldogs. There we go. Awesome.
Winner.
See you tomorrow.
You gotta come back tomorrow.
I literally texted you.
It was so
Now we are going to get down to the rest of our business. Next on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All of those in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is citizens' comments on agenda items. Do we have any this evening?
We do not.
Thank you. Next, we have consideration of routine business. We will have approval of the minutes. We will be approving regular meeting minutes dated November 10th, 2025. Could I have a motion on the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All of those in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is personnel report. We will be approving the personnel report dated December 8th, 2025. Motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the personnel report as presented.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. Next, we have claims and finances. We will be approving payroll claims dated November 7th, 2025. Payroll claims dated November 21st, 2025. Claims dated October 31st, 2025. And claims dated November 30th, 2025. Could I have a motion on the claims and finances, please?
Motion to approve the claims and finances as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All of those in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. All right, next we will have the NPHS robotics competitions with Mr. Bowles and Mr. Hartley.
Sitting all the way in the back. It's chilly back there in the back. I'm going to introduce Tim Tarpley to you. He's a robotics teacher, no robotics coach. There he goes. And a great teacher.
Great. Hey, thanks. So the robotics team is requesting approval to go to a competition at the Kalahari Resort and Water Park in the beautiful city of Sandusky in January 23rd and 24th, because everybody thinks a great vacation in Sandusky in January. Our teams are doing well, and they are definitely not doing as well as we've done in the past. Hopefully we're looking to turn around in the second half, and this is part of that. The second trip is actually a new one. This will be to Bristol, Tennessee, to the Bristol Motor Speedway. That is February 12th and 13th. Same deal, it's a signature event, 2-day event. Students and families are responsible for travel and hotel. We just go down there and hope to do well. Both are world qualifying events, so if we win, we automatically have a spot for Worlds. If we don't, we keep trying.
Okay, thank you. We will vote and discuss these separately. So let's start with the Kalahari signature event. Can I have a motion on that competition, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the NPHS robotics competition in Sandusky, Ohio as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All of those in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. And then we will talk about the robotics competition in Bristol. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve the NPHS Bristol, Tennessee robotics trip.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions?
Be nice if it in Tennessee in February, then.
Santa.
At least I'm hoping.
Yes. How many, do you have on the team this year?
We're carrying 3 teams, 14 kids. As a matter of fact, this year is kind of special because we have our largest number of female participants. We're about a quarter of our team is female. Prior to this year, it's usually been a girl, maybe. So this is definitely a different area, so it's been kind of unique to see how they interact with a bunch of boys who normally don't interact with girls.
Well, they had a little bit of experience in junior high having girls on the team.
Sometimes,
So-
yes.
I heard that there are girls in robotics. So. Good.
That's outstanding, Susan. I appreciate you sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All of those in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. Thank you. Enjoy the trips.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, and next we will have MPJH robotics competition with Mrs. Neal and Mrs. Topsy.
Thank you, Mr. Bowles. Thank you. What a great teammate.
Are they all
Was
ready?
it fun? The Brady likes to have this grab through a dog's mouth. Thank you, Mr. Bowles. Yes, it does matter.
All right, Mrs. Neal.
We're here asking permission for board approval for our NPJH robotics team to also travel to Sandusky. It's a different time because of the middle level is different than the high school level. We have 5 teams of 5, and so they're all traveling for that competition if you approve. I have Ms. Stropsy here with me, the coach. She's the assistant coach of the robotics team.
Okay, thank you. Could I have a motion on MPJH robotics competition?
I'll make a motion to approve the MPJH robotics competition as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions?
You can tell high school what the weather's gonna be like. Before then, so we will appreciate it.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
And there are girls on this team.
There are. We have 5 girls, and they are split on a couple of different teams. So that's 20% of our team. So we're going to keep pushing for more and more girls.
Any additional comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All of those in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda are donations with Mrs. Gizzy.
Good evening. We have several donations tonight that I'm excited to bring to you. First is Pinnacle Construction Group made donations in the amount of $500 each to NPI and MPJH Robotics. The Integrity Machine Systems has donated $500 to NPI Robotics. NPI received a cash donation, $500 from Denisha Kennedy for the NPI Fun Run fundraiser, say that 100 times. A $200 grant was awarded to Sarah Dobbins at NPI from the Forum Credit Union Foundation. Those will be for the Miscellaneous Projects Fund. Kids in Kettles Extension donated $300 to Brandywine, NPE, and Sugar Creek for their meal accounts with deficit balances. Service Engineering donated $1,000 for the high school robotics program. Our Facilities Department received $500 in the form of a grant from the New Boston Education Foundation to be used for staff appreciation. Brandywine received $1,500 in a grant from the New Boston Education Foundation for our Brandywine Blue Ribbon School Celebration. Integrity Machine Systems donated another $500 to the high school robotics program. MG Landscape and Design donated $1,000 to the high school for We the People. NPJH Robotics Program received $1,000 in a grant from Duke Energy. Structural Design Incorporated donated $250 to the MPI Robotics Program. There's a theme here. Steve and Ashley Warren donated $500 to the NPI robotics program. And then our last donation is recognizing the donors and sponsors for our Bay Wellness Fair that we had on our last e-learning day, which was a huge success. And you can see the varying amounts there, but we received donations from Humana Dental, Fifth Third Bank, Grand Canyon Education, Jason Woodruff from Equitable, Greenfield Banking Company, Corbridge Financial, and Hancock Regional Hospital, all in varying amounts there. We're requesting board approval at this time for the donations.
Could I have a motion on the donations?
I'll make a motion to approve the donations as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions?
Just rough, that's roughly
Yeah.
$10,000. I was trying, but I got lost on the last one there, but it's roughly $10,000. That's incredible. That's a lot of money, and we have a very generous community, and it warms my heart every time I see that stuff. You know, just a community that cares like that. And robotics, I don't know, we need to hire them as a marketing person. Every month they get a lot of money from it, so whoever's running their marketing is on it. Good job.
So is this typical of end of year donations? Is that what this is?
I think because the NTI programs are getting ready to do I wonder if it's because they're getting out to go on their trips, maybe, if we get more money for robotics at that time. The Wellness Fair just happened to be when we had it. So I don't know if I've noticed that over the years, but it's a possibility. Yeah, that's the longest list I think I've read over the years. So.
That was outstanding. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All of those in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. Thank you. Mrs. Gizzy's going to stay put for a little while. She's going to talk to us about several things this evening. Next will be the Education Fund and Operations Fund.
So this is our intra-fund transfer where we end the year with positive appropriations. So at this time, we're just asking permission to go through and make those, find the transfers once we go through our year-end numbers, after December 31st. And then we will come to you in January and let you know what transactions we actually made. But this is what we do every year for the budget, where we get things balanced to make sure that our appropriations and our line items are positive, where we transfer from one where we have underspent the appropriation to one where maybe we've overspent the appropriation. So we are asking for board approval at this time.
Okay, motion on the Education Fund and Operations Fund transfer.
Motion to approve the permission transfer is presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All of those in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. Next, we are going to discuss the Education Fund to the Daycare Fund.
So we use all the attachment and board backup, which was the resolution. Again, this is something that we can do at the end of December once we know where we finish the year. And then we will come to you in January with the exact amount of the transfer. So this time we're just asking for your permission to transfer funds from the Education Fund to the Daycare Fund to ensure positive end of year balance for our staff daycare fund.
Do I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve the transfer as presented. Permission to transfer.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All of those in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. Thank you, Mrs. Gibney. Next on the agenda, we have the consumable and supplemental course fees for spring of 2026 with Mr. Michner and Mr. Smith.
Good evening. So tonight we are asking for board approval for consumable and supplemental fees for specific courses K-12 to start in the spring semester of 2026. We'll give you a little bit of background, kind of the W's, the who, what, why, where, all that information for you. So as you know, a few years ago in 2023, there was a new act or new legislative action where that significantly changed how schools could charge families for curricular fees and items and adopted curriculum. And so at that time, our district funded every single curricular, supplemental, and consumable fee for every single family. So families were not getting charged anything at that time. However, in this past legislative session, there was some clarification into that law in that consumable and supplemental fees could be charged at a reasonable fee to families because they are beyond the scope of the curricular definition that the state presented when they first defined this a few years ago. And so, we're looking at items such as things that are used up by students. Like, if you think about a culinary arts curriculum, you think about the food that's used up and has to be bought every single year. Or you think about science materials like chemicals. Like, as a former chemistry teacher, I think about all the chemicals that I used in class that every single year had to be replenished. It was used up specifically by students. Art supplies, for instance, another thing, to allow students to create things and take things home and use them up. So supplemental materials that don't support instruction and art, the adopted textbook in that particular class. So these are real costs that exist and have existed and will continue to exist because we want to make sure we have these hands-on programs and activities for students. We want to go beyond just the traditional curriculum and explore more and have students create more. And so we want to make sure that these experiences continue. And so year after year, we're replenishing these supplemental, these consumable items for these labs. And so the one thing that we're wanting to make sure that we look at with these fees is that these are fees that are for items that are used by individual students. And so when we start thinking, we'll get into a little bit here in just a few minutes about how we calculated some of these fees, but it was specifically for items that are used by students on a per item, per student, per course basis. And so there wasn't a blanket fee that we were looking at. We wanted to make sure it was directly tied to that specific student and that student was using that for that course. Currently, we receive about $158 per student from the state for curriculum items, and so we're very grateful for that, but we use well beyond that in terms of some of our courses. And so we think about our construction classes, we think about science courses and those kinds of things. We use well beyond that amount, and so we want to continue that. Anything over that is coming out of our education fund. And so, we don't want to have any impact with any of this, and we want to make sure that we're offering the best educational opportunities and programs to our students. So we wanted to make sure they were reasonable, that they were tied directly to students, that they were consumable in nature and had to be replaced. And so the intent of that was to be transparent, and so to show this is how we came up with this fee. It wasn't just that we think it's this blanket fee and we think for this these supplemental items. So I'll give you a little bit of an example from a secondary standpoint, and then Mr. Smith will talk about from a K-6 lens. I think about art. When we were looking at the art fees and the art items that are used in that class, you think about an art class, they use a lot of items every single day. And we have a great art program, a lot of art classes from intro and advanced 2D and 3D and ceramics and painting and drawing and things. So instead of just looking at the courses and saying, okay, we think we should charge this much because we think this is what is used in consumable fees, we spent time looking at each course with the help of the art department and our treasurers to see exactly what was purchased for the semester. And then we divided that to get a per student fee or per student cost for that item. But then we went back and said, okay, so like markers that were used, they were probably used in multiple classes. So then we went and we added that per item per student fee for every single item that was used in that course over the semester to just be as absolutely transparent as we could to show that this is what was used in that class. And so it wasn't, oh, we think it's this, it's, we did a per student, per item, per course, per semester basis, which took some time to look at because we did that for all these courses. And so we did that with culinary arts on the secondary level, we looked at science on the secondary level, what kind of chemicals were bought, when were they used, how were they used, how often, what would be to replace that. And so we wanted to be as absolutely transparent as possible with that process.
And on the K-6 side, it mirrors that exact process, but then just look at it, there are 3 different schools. So what did those costs look like per elementary school? And then we looked at that in grade level bands. The thing that's a little bit different on the K-6 side is, as he said, art, there were all of those different courses. When you look at an elementary class, it's elementary art. So the two lanes that we really looked in that K-6 side was from the consumable side. It really was more of our unified arts courses, your art, your PE, your music. And then when we look in the supplemental side, that was where more of the technology expenses were incurred. So we looked at that historical data. I then worked with our treasurers, and we went per kid, per item, the exact same formula that was used as Mr. Mitchner shared. Just to give you an idea, based on those figures presented, in our elementary K-6 world, that's going to be approximately about $35 per student. I was next also, yeah, I got to keep going. So on the K-12 side of things, one thing that we wanted to add as a special note was that anyone who were to qualify for free and reduced expenses in any of our programs, this would also qualify them. They would not be charged for those supplemental fees at this time. And the only exception to that would be if we ran into any items that were significantly damaged or lost. That would be an exception to that piece. And then, as with any of our programming, never will we let the financial pieces have any issue with the way that our students access materials, classes, activities. And in any of those situations, we would just invite families to work with us so that we could find out ways that we can meet their needs on the financial component of this process.
And speaking of the financial component, you'll notice in the presented list of supplemental and consumable fees that there were no fees that went over $45 for a course, and that was for a couple of reasons. Number one, because we want to have that commitment to being reasonable for our families, because there were courses as we were going through this process that were significantly more than that, and so just because the experiences and the materials that are required for that supplemental consumable part of the course did go above that, but we wanted to be consistent and be reasonable for our courses. So there was that cap of $45. So we're asking for board approval tonight for the consumable and supplemental fees so we can continue our strong academic excellence, as we saw at the beginning of the meeting tonight, and these experiences and things like that. And so we are just asking for board approval of these this time.
Okay, thank you. Could I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the consumable and supplemental course fees for spring 2026 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments and questions? I have a few.
Sure.
So in the past, when families paid the book fees, that was generally at the start of the school year and was part of our registration process. Since we're going to be adding this middle of the year, how will that be, one, communicated, and then two, how will the fees be sent to families?
Sure.
So that we can actually, what's the process? Help
Sure.
me with the process.
Sure. Yeah. So no, we're going to communicate this out extensively from, parents' wear messaging, from our newsletters that go out, from the schools themselves and their weekly newsletters that go out, from our monthly newsletters that go out, and communicate directly with families, like because they're only going to get charged for the actual courses that they're in, and things like that. And it'll be just like we've worked with Mrs. Gizzy to talk about that process and how that looks, and it'll be the exact same process from before, where it's done electronically from our building treasurers, sending out communications as well from the school level, and doing it through that way. So it is a little different because you're right. It used to be at the very beginning just of the school year, and there's some schools that do it by semester, some do it year, just at the beginning of the year, and refund at the second semester if need be. So essentially, we're going to keep the same process that we had before, where we communicated out from the treasurers from the schools. So.
Thank you. What's Zello?
Oh, hey.
I noticed it on all of the schools, and it's just not something I'd heard of before, so I was just curious, what is it?
Yeah, it's a career exploration program that our schools use, and so and it's got all sorts of skills, career building opportunities, apps for students to go in and explore. At an elementary level, it's kind of like a gamified system that they use.
Playground where they explore.
And then at the high school and secondary level, it gets into career interest surveys, connecting them to universities that have their interests as they take these quizzes about their interests, and it connects them to the universities. It's a pretty cool system that all our students have access to. And so it's used from our counselors to some of our teachers, our business teachers at the high school, and like the career classes and things like that. It's a pretty cool system.
Well, thank you for explaining it. Okay, who else has questions?
Yeah, so I to kind of build on your communication, so is there gonna be, are you gonna provide the communication to the schools of, here's what you need to say, because this, like you said, this is out of the ordinary. We haven't done it in a couple years, and we traditionally did it when kids registered for school. Here it is, the middle, so how, are we gonna have consistent messaging? We don't want all of our treasurers developing their own messaging. Is that could?
I mean, I would agree with that. I don't know if you would
Yeah,
think that
I
from
think
communications.
I think the biggest thing is we wanted to get past approval, if that occurs this evening, and then we'll roll it out in our monthly communication as well as targeted Parent Square information after that. And then typically what occurs is that's copy and pasted, so to speak, from that communication at the building level.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do we got?
Well, I guess my question would go along with that. Are we gonna do, and maybe I missed this part, are we gonna do this every semester, or going after this year, we're gonna start at the beginning of the year? How do we expect this to go?
Yeah, so this
Every semester?
it would typically be it would be at the beginning of the year, and so
Okay.
it would be typically, yeah,
Okay.
how we've been doing in the past. So.
We just didn't have enough time, but the new law going into effect July 1, we didn't have enough time to get it by August.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to make sure, first we felt maybe we were rushing, so they just said, slow down, take your time, let's get it right and start a second semester.
We wanted to be really transparent with
Yeah, so
what it
you
was
can
and
charge.
get the right information.
And I appreciate all the time and energy you both put into
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
really looking at costs, truly looking at cost and not just saying, oh, we think it's this, because that does make a difference for our families. So thank you for doing that.
And again, on the communication side, we'll plan on posting the information that we've had for families to be able to see exactly what those fees are and how we came up with them.
Well, so the elementaries, the junior high, and the intermediate will all have a blanket fee per student, and then the high school students will have fees based on what classes they take. And then, so every year, it'll be twice that the high schoolers will pay the fees, because they'll pay it for the fall schedule, and then for their,
Well, so it typically in the past, we've actually just charged once at the beginning of the year for their schedule, and then if a schedule got changed, and they were in that course second semester, they would get a
okay,
refund.
so if they have it changed after Christmas, they'll get a refund?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And if there are funds unused, do they roll over the next year to that school, or do they go into a holding for the whole district, or where do those dollars sit?
I think they would need to sit for those conservative fees.
Stay in that
class.
line item.
So.
We're not really expecting to have anything
I
else
also
at the end.
Yeah.
really would be surprised.
I appreciate that. It's very
Yeah.
good.
So we're not anticipating that.
Especially with the cap that we created, and, you know, because we wanted to be reasonable for families and things like that, I would be shocked if there were.
And I would add, if the student makes a change next semester, yes, they'll receive a refund, but they also will be charged for the course that they've been switched to. So just to making sure
Yes,
that
they'll
is.
have some.
So it'll be, yeah.
Yeah, when I was reading over all of this, what we prepared, I was really impressed with the level of detail and the effort, like Laura was saying, not to just have a blanket fee, but to be really specific with the classes, and it says a lot. I think parents will appreciate that. As a parent, I appreciate that.
Any additional comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All of those in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have the joint services agreement of the Hancock County Career Center with Dr. Leak.
Yes, in your packet, you would have seen the form, the agreement that was in there. This is a form that was approved
The current one that we have that's already expires in 26, spring of 26, and that basically we're going ahead and redoing this now. It's basically the same plan that you approved 3 years ago, just with some minor tweaks there. I will say that we're approving, or I'm asking you to approve this month. Last month, the other 3 county schools did approve. We just got the information later than when our stuff is due to you to be able to get it to you. But this is very similar. I think the only thing that was, so it's not changing because of the Hancock Career Center, because the Amplifying Center. So it's not a change based on that. It's basically the same exact as before with this. So we went through it and with attorneys and our attorney that looked through it and everything, but there wasn't anything that was claimed. I think the only thing we mainly changed was our school corporation name, because the last one was Southern Hancock. So we did update that. But still, with everything that we will be doing, it's a per student fee that we will be approving. We'll be bringing that back to you later to let you know what that fee will be. We're still determining that. But this is just the overall agreement amongst the 4 schools that will be working together under the umbrella of HC3. Okay, could I have a motion on the joint services agreement?
I'll make a motion to accept joint services agreement with Hancock County Career Center as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All of those in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. Thank you, Dr. Fleet.
Thank you.
All right, next on the agenda is first reading of policies with Mr. McKinney.
All right. I haven't had one of these in a while, but hold on. Amber will have those pulled up here, so just kind of to refresh our memories, we have policy 2 readings. So the first one we'll go through, I'll just talk about what we're gonna, the policies, what the language changes are gonna be. Laura and I met with Dr. Pleak and Amber, and we made these changes. So if between now and next month will be the second reading, so we're not going to have any action tonight. We want you to review these, look at the changes. You'll be able to see that in board docs where that is. If you have any questions on how to get there, you can talk to Laura or myself. And then the next month we'll come back with asking for approval of these. So if you have anything that you see grammatical, want to ask questions, don't hesitate to ask. You can certainly call Dr. Pleak and ask as well. So the first one is C525, which is an existing policy called medical needs at school. And as almost every one of these is due to legislative changes. So it was I don't want to say easy because it's never easy, but these were due to legislative changes that happened in July, so we're making these changes. And AEDs was specifically one of those, where now they have to have those a lot closer, which is a good thing, and more prevalent. So I think in the previous meetings, you've seen where we've had donations and grants where we've been able to purchase additional AEDs. And so this one is just talking about that and putting some words into the practice that we're doing, as well as also how we talk about the sports that are done in there. I think it was there was a couple competitive or non-competitive cheerleading, so just kind of calling those out and talking about the auditorium and having those close to when those students are there as well as overdose prevention medications. And so you can see that anything that was a strike through has been changed, and some of that was due to they just took the whole section and reworded it, right? So it looks like we made a lot of changes, but we actually didn't, because when our attorneys went through that, they just kind of thought it was easier just to reword the whole and rewrite the whole paragraph versus kind of make it a little chopped up. So that's 525. The next one is D300, which is controlled substance and alcohol testing. This is a new policy that we have, and this is around pre-employment screenings for some positions, and they call them safety, they're the safety-sensitive functions, right? So I would happen to think that anybody in this school corporation has a safety-sensitive function, right? Because we're dealing with kids. And, but this is more, definitely relates to transportation and pre-employment. So, and it's all around certain positions. There's the different contacts that we had to put in there based on that. And I think that was it on this one. All right. So the next one is F100, which is an internal controls. We love these. These are just like top of the mind. We have to pull Mrs. Gizzy in here to get guidance and make sure that we're keeping in line with what she's doing and making sure that we aren't stepping out here and doing something that's going to get us all in trouble. So she was very involved in this one to make sure that those controls were, one, what they're practicing today and what they're doing, and making sure that we're in alignment with the dollars and the thresholds that have to happen there. And then this also, the big one here was the signatures on checks. And, you know, we always have two people to sign those, you know, to make sure that they're approving the checks and all that kind of stuff. And we put the principal and along with the treasurer, I think it's, yeah, there it is right there, authorized signatures, right? So we didn't want Mrs. Gizzy signing every one of the extracurricular checks. So we made that with the school principal and school treasurer. So, you know, she was, got other things to do than sign a check for extracurricular. So the principals, we put them as that, and the school treasurer. And then if the principal is absent, the director of finance can sign those checks as well. So we're not holding up that if needed to be. All right. The next one is F125. Again, this one is a great one because Mrs. Gizzy was involved in this one as well. But it also talks about those spending limits and making a couple corrections based on some guidance that they had. It used to be $250,000 and that got moved down to $150,000. You can see there that was changed in that piece, and that was basically the changes to this one. So moving on to the, yes, we're getting very long. And I think this is probably one of the most referenced policies according to Dr. King and Mrs. Gizzy, that one. Okay, so the next one is unpaid meal policy. This was an interesting one, F176. So we, as we make changes to policies, we try to make our policy wrap around what we're actually doing in the schools, right? So we're not making a policy that, one, they can't do, and one, they're not doing. And so we kind of tried to do that. And so Laura and I learned a lot about the meal system, even though, you know, our kids don't use it anymore because we've all aged out of the school system, but we were very familiar with the whole online meal thing when our kids were in school. So this talked about when it went to a negative lunch balance and how that communication occurs. And then it does talk about how that communication to the parents occur and what happens when the student goes negative in their lunch account. All right. The next one is, and the last one on the list is F225, fundraising and crowdfunding. And this is just an existing policy, and I'll be honest, I think there was just a couple of things at the bottom.
actually at the top.
Hers at the top.
Hers at the top. It's no longer just.
Yeah, there it is, okay. I knew it was very, yeah, but not limited to, so this was, people get hung up on some words, right? So we didn't want it to be only these two crowdfunding sources, but it was just giving an example if someone didn't know what crowdfunding meant, they could kind of look that up. So, but those were two examples. So that is it on those. So if you have any questions, comments, please read those, let us know. Next month, we'll be coming back asking for approval of these if there's no changes. Okay. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Next is deletion of policy G120. Did you just go through that?
No,
Okay.
that's the next item on the agenda.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, deletion of policy G125. Mr. McKinney.
Yep, so this one is criminal organization activity. So this is a policy that our lawyers have recommended that we delete. Not that we don't have gangs anymore, but it's just a policy they said is not up to date, and maybe in the future they may come up with something different. But right now they're recommending that we delete this policy. So this does have to go through the board approval process. It doesn't have to go through 2 readings. So at this, we don't have to have this any longer, and so we're recommending that we delete this policy, and so that's what I'm asking for at this time is approval to delete this policy.
Okay, could I have a motion on the deletion of policy G125?
Make the motion to delete the policy G125 as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All of those in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes. Next on the agenda, we have reports, and this evening, Mr. Mitchner is going to give us a report on Latin honors and weighted grades.
Thank you. Yeah, so I appreciate this opportunity. Wanted to present to you some of the conversations and work that's been done over the past several months with the idea of talking about weighted grades and Latin honors at the high school. And so to give you a little bit of context as to kind of why we're presenting on this tonight, to give you some information and things like that, we have new graduation requirements that are now in place, for students. And so when we were talking about our processes and for class rank and for academic recognition for our students, we thought that this was a time to start evaluating our processes, to start looking at, is our system up to date? Do we feel like it recognizes students appropriately? And do we feel like our weights are appropriate for what we offer at the high school for grade weighting? And so in consultation with several different groups, we worked with Curriculum Council, which I know we have a couple of board members on, and so we worked with students, we worked with the Community Leadership Academy, we worked with team leaders at the high school to really start gathering information about if we were to evaluate our systems for grade weights and for Latin honors to recognize high academic achievement for our students, we wanted to make sure we were getting as much stakeholder input as possible. And so to give you a little bit of the kind of current state that we're in right now, this is our current weighted system at the high school. You'll see it's a tiered system, and so and this has been in place for several years, and so this has been ever since I can remember looking at our weighted grades. This has been in place, and so you'll notice that there's 3 different factors here: the 0.01, 0.0075, and 0.005 factor of a weight that's added to a class as a GPA, and so you'll see there's some honors classes, there's some DC, which stands for dual credit, and then the AP courses for advanced placement. And so over the last several years, though, we have done some significant expansion of our course offerings, especially in the early college and dual credit arena. And so you'll notice that there's several of our early college and dual credit classes that are not on this list. And so with the implementation of the new diploma and in talking to other schools and seeing what their processes were, getting input from our parents, our different groups, our students, our teachers, we were looking at if this was, what we felt like the best way to weight our classes. And so what we've considered doing at this point is weighting all classes the same. And so instead of having the tiered approach, having a one weight for every single class, the 0.01 adjustment for classes, and to include every single AP, dual credit, and early college course on that list. And so, our course offerings have changed over the last several years. We've added a lot of classes, and so thinking about the system that's in place for our students, we want to stay current and consistent with what we're doing for our students. And so that list then would now look like this. And so you'll see we have every single EC standing for early college, DC for dual credit, and AP for advanced placement. And so this is recognizing that weight, keeping it consistent and transparent for our students and for our families, that if it's an early college, a dual credit, or an AP course, it's going to be weighted the same. And so this was something that was done, like I said, in several conversations with people. And so, sorry, I'll go back, in terms of what we felt like was most appropriate, what would be consistent, what would be easy to understand for students, what would be easy to understand for families. And so this is something that we are looking at moving towards with every single course there. To me, I always think this is just personally kind of an impressive list of all the early college classes that we offer at the high school, with our number of students that graduate with an ICC and an associate's degree and things like that. I look at this list and I'm like, wow, we have some pretty cool offerings at the school. So that's just me personally. But as we're talking through this, and this has been an ongoing conversation over a period of time, because so with the implementation of the new diploma and the expansion of these offerings, we really felt like it was time to evaluate if we were weighting our courses appropriately based off of what we offer to our students. And so this has been a culmination of those conversations and research and evaluation and looking at what other schools we're doing and the feedback we were getting from people, and to just be a little bit more transparent and a little more consistent with what we were doing. So, and then with that, we're also looking at Latin honors. And so when we think about Latin honors, we're talking about the summa cum laude, magna cum laude, and cum laude system. And so if we're talking about grades, or we're talking about grade weights and GPAs, it seemed natural to think about this as well. This has been an ongoing conversation for a while as well at the high school. One thing that we're noticing is there is a lot of competition among students in their GPA. And so, and sometimes an unhealthily so amount of competition for that top spot. And so we have amazing students that are very academically gifted, that have really high academic achievement. And so that competition sometimes allows students to overload on their weighted classes instead of pursuing their interests. And I'll share a quote with you here in just a little bit from a couple of students, because we wanted to get input from them as well about what this would look like and how this would feel for them. So I'll share some of that data with you here in a second. But the reason why we want to start doing this is, again, because we were looking at the new diploma, we were looking at grade weights, and we've just seen a lot of students in sometimes unhealthy competition with each other in terms of their GPA and their grade weights, and not taking classes that they want to take because it's not weighted the same, or it's not something they, maybe their friend that they're in competition with is doing. And so the idea is to recognize students then that have that high academic achievement at these GPAs. And so what could that potentially look like at the high school? So these are the GPAs that we're looking at currently. We're still in having conversations with this about if this is the most appropriate at the moment. And so because we really want to make sure that we're recognizing students with high academic achievement, but that we're not missing people as well. And so that we're not, missing people because of where those cutoffs are, that are still having pretty high academic achievement. And so looking at 3 tiers that are widely used by other schools, just with the summa, magna, and the cum laude, We were looking at some of our data from the past couple of graduating classes to see how many of those students would we recognize if we were to move to a system like this. And two things we noticed. Number one is those decimal points are definitely going to have to go out. Because as of right now, we have our GPAs that go out to 4 decimal places. And so for more transparency's sake, I think we're going to have to do that to make sure that it's very clear and consistent since our GPAs do go out to that. The second thing is, again, just evaluating our numbers is to see if this is appropriate. So looking at 24 and 25 data, I wrote this down because I wanted to make sure I had this. And so for the class of 25, we took their data, their GPAs, and we actually recalculated their weighted GPAs based off of if they were on the new weighted system that we were discussing earlier. And so we would have had 24 students at summa cum laude, 18 students at magna cum laude, and 44 at cum laude. So 24, 18, and 44. And then in the class of 24, we would have had 12 at the top for summa cum laude, 24 at magna cum laude, and 38 at cum laude. And so we're still having discussions about, if that's appropriate or not. Is that recognizing enough? Because I think we all agree a 3.9 GPA is pretty high, and that's impressive. And so is that, and so ultimately this is going to go into our curriculum guide, and before we present that to our families and to you, we want to make sure that we have that decided and accurate, and that's what it's going to be. But this is where we started off originally, and to be completely frank, one of the reasons we started, which seemed really high, is because one of the pieces of feedback we did get was from some of these committees that we discussed, was we wanted to make sure we weren't creating an achievement or a recognition for every single student. Like, we wanted to make sure that the committees wanted to make sure that we were recognizing those students that were had that high academic achievement and really deserved that recognition. And so that's kind of why we originally started with this, but we're still having those conversations if that's what's most appropriate for us. And so to give you a little comparison, these are some of the cutoffs that are used around us in our conference. And so you'll see there's Greenfield Central, Yorktown, Newcastle, and Delta that's there. Delta does it on a 12-point system, but I went ahead and included them just so you can kind of see that. But other schools that have already implemented this already include, Carmel, Westfield, Washington, Hamilton Southeastern, IPS, Noblesville, and Logansport. So there's several schools. We're certainly not the first to do this or to look at this. And so it's widely used in colleges, and it's starting to become more widely used in high schools across the state. And so to give you a little bit of, like I said, comparison, so you can see that with the other schools that are around us. There are some schools that do percentages, that do the top percents for those cutoffs, like top 5%, top 10%, top 15%. That was not something we wanted to do because it was kind of making it a moving target. Because every class is going to be a little bit different. Every cohort is going to be slightly different in the sense of that top 5% could be a little bit different than the next year's top 5%. And so it would move that target to get that summa cum laude, magna cum laude recognition for students, because we want to honor all of our high achieving students. And so that would still kind of put that competition amongst each other with that to be in that top 5, 10, or 15%. So our thoughts were if we had that threshold, then students would know what they were trying to get to in order to have that recognition at graduation and commencement. So that was kind of the reason we were looking at that as a GPA threshold versus a percent. So in terms of a timeline and what this could potentially look like for our students, if we're looking at both grade weights and Latin honors, Latin honors would really be able to be introduced first because we can do that with the current valedictorian and salutatorian model over the next few years, and with full implementation by 2030. And I'll show you a chart here in just a second with that, and at 2030 being both grade weights and Latin honors. But the reason for that is we have students that have already taken high school courses, and so to change grade weighting on them right now would not be fair to them. And so it just would not be fair to say a student who's taken a whole year as a freshman with these grade weights, and now all of a sudden we're going to change that up on them. So there's kind of I'll just kind of show you the thing here, or the table here. This gradual introduction of the grade weights with the Latin honors and kind of think about it kind of like a teeter-totter almost. And so we'll have no changes for the class of 2026, but then for 2027, we'll have that Latin system recognition, and then our incoming 9th graders then will start with those new weights, and we'll have 10th, 11th, and 12th graders on the old weighting system. That next year then, it would be 2 grades on each. That next year, 1 and 3, and so like 1 grade level and 3, and then eventually a full rollout into that system with the Latin system with the new grade weights, and using only the Latin system at that point for recognition. So we recognize that it just would not be right to change grade weights in the middle of students who have already earned a GPA at the high school level and things. So we wanted to make sure to respect that. Some feedback we've gotten from different community members. These were actually 2 parents who wrote these. So one said, as a parent of elementary students, I'm appreciative of the forethought to lower stress and make honors designations more accessible. And then what a fabulous idea. What this says to me is that this is a school system that is more student-centered and continues to modify processes and systems that benefits a student's long-term interests, mental health, and overall success. And so those were a couple of pieces of feedback we got. Some of the questions we got, again, referring back to where those GPA cutoffs going to be, how many are we going to recognize? That was one of the biggest pieces of questions and feedback that we got. So that's why we were having those conversations about what those levels were. Our high school did an awesome job of surveying students at each grade level, and so this was some of the information we got from them. For 12th grade, 11th grade, 10th grade, and 9th grade, our high school went into classrooms of some of the higher level courses, because that's who this is going to affect, is those high achieving students, and surveyed students, presented them with information about grade weighting and Latin honors and what this could potentially look like. And you'll see our 12th and 11th grade were overwhelmingly in favor of this. And so juniors really supported the Latin honors model. 10th grade was generally favorable. They had some more neutral, and 9th grade was positive, neutral, not really any negative. It was just kind of, they were like, I don't know. Yeah. They were like, okay. So that one kind of makes sense that it was more neutral in nature. But I think my favorite quote is this one from a student. And so this student is currently in running for valedictorian. And they said, I think this would be the best change for the school. I'm currently a valedictorian, but I did not love half of the classes I took to get here. My interests are in the humanities and social sciences, yet in order to continue keeping rank with my friends, I had to take so many STEM and math classes. I wanted to take sociology and ethnic studies, but I felt pressure to continue with those classes, which I had no joy or interest in. Moving class rank would be the best possible scenario to encourage students to explore their interests. And again, this is coming from a student who's currently tied for valedictorian. So I wanted to make sure to put that in here, because I feel like that's a pretty powerful statement for somebody who's saying, like, well, I am one of the top students GPA-wise, but I wish this would have been done. And so another question that we got quite a bit was, what about college? How is this going to affect college admissions, and what is this going to do if we move away from the valedictorian, salutatorian model, traditional class rank system, and into that Latin honor system? And so there was a study done in 2023 from the National Association of College Admissions Counseling, and they were ranking what colleges looked at in applications processes. And so when they looked at class rank, they ranked it as considerable importance, important, not important. Class rank went from 23% of universities in 2007 saying that class rank was of considerable importance to 16 years later in 2023, 5.5% saying that. Another thing that I thought was, I didn't quite realize this number until I was reading the study, was that last sentence, is that more than half of all high schools in the country no longer actually report class rank. And I was like, whoa. I did not realize that it was that many. And so there's a link to that study there that you're welcome to take a look at. But colleges are looking at a more holistic approach to applications, scores. I know some are score optional, some applications are score optional, but that essays, letters of recommendation, interviews, when they look at transcripts, not just what are the grades, but like what were the courses that were taken. So like what was the rigor of those courses that were taken for students. And so it really is kind of looking at that more holistic approach in college applications. And so another question that we got was, what about like for scholarships and things like that? We can still provide class rank to students. We can still do that. We can still present that. We can still, verify that with scholarships and colleges and things like that. That's not something that we wouldn't be able to calculate or wouldn't be able to see. So, if a student was up for a scholarship and needed to be like, oh, I really need to be in the top 10% or this, we can absolutely verify that still with this. And so, wanted to kind of present that, our findings so far that we've done. This has been ongoing work that we've been having conversations about with multiple people and multiple groups for months. And so we are excited about this for our students because of the competition amongst themselves and for them to take that interest and take the classes that interest them, but also recognize all of our academically gifted and our high achievers because we have just a really great student body that really does achieve a lot of great things. Like we said at the beginning of the meeting today, I mean, to have 22 AP scholars with distinction, that's, I think that's pretty cool. And so I appreciate you letting me talk a little bit about this tonight and kind of some of the processes that we've gone through so far to get information and what we're thinking. And
Thank you, Mr. Mitchner. I appreciate all the work that you poured into not only your presentation, but all of this in general. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Mitchner this evening based on his presentation?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I know we've talked a couple times, but just the different schools that you looked at, did they also have weighted classes in their GP or in their different distinctions? So they had weighted classes as well, because it was kind of surprising to me that kids could get over a 4.0, but yet 4.0 was the top, right? So it was kind of like, well, I was setting the bar kind of low in my opinion, but I didn't know if they had weighted classes, so.
yeah, the ones that I'm happy to provide you specific examples, and I don't have any off right
No, that's
right
fine.
now. But yes, they schools have those weighted classes for sure. And some schools with the GPA system, for instance, I know I think it's Noblesville, but I want to make sure that I'm correct on that. But some schools use like a extracurricular like point system as well that are involved with it and involve things other than academics, but we wanted to stick with academic achievement kind of with our system and with what we were thinking. So we just wanted to be consistent with that.
So why did you remove the, or I guess you're talking about removing the classes that are currently weighted today that are no longer going to be weighted?
So we wanted to be just consistent across the board with our courses and have a designation and a definition for them to be weighted. And so with this, it's very transparent and clear. It's early college, it's dual credit. They're earning college credit really in all of these classes because they can earn college credit in the AP courses as well.
Because that's essentially your junior and senior schedule right there. It's pretty simple.
They would take, yeah, there are more classes that are taken in junior and senior year because of this, because some of these courses are offered freshman and sophomore year, but yeah, you're right, yeah.
Yeah. And so going to your, and then another question, you're going to your different levels there. Yeah, so I think I would recommend that you look at this and you make some changes. And I've always been the kind of person of, okay, if I'm going to tell you to make changes, I'm going to give you a suggestion. And I think that 4.2, so you have to take 20 classes, right? If I did my math right now, I know I went to Purdue, and sometimes people accuse me of Purdue math, but I think it's pretty accurate. But you have to take 20 classes to get, because it's 0.01, so you have to take 20 classes to get 0.2, right?
Yeah, 20 classes, and then, yeah, 20 classes.
So you would have to take 20 of those classes if you got an A in every class to get a 4.2. And if you look at most of the classes, they're offered your junior and senior year. So you have to load up your junior and senior year. My recommendation is you lower it to a 4.1. And you kind of hit on that of, I don't care how many decimal places you go to, but make them the same, because that will give us calls. if you go to 1 decimal place there and then you go to your grading scale of 4 decimal places, that will cause some problems. And then the second one, I would recommend that you went to, if you keeping it with 4 decimal places, 4.099 to 3.900. And then the cum laude of 3.8999 to either 3.7 or 3.750. And the reason I say that is because if you look at some of the other schools that you had, and I don't want everybody to get a participation rating. Okay, so I'll say that right off the bat. I don't think that's appropriate. But if you look at, if a kid gets an A- in a class, they can never get to the top level. Because if they get because an A- is a 3.6667, so, and if you take 20 classes, that gives you 0.2, that gives you 3.8, because you add it to the GPA, not to their score, right?
Yeah, so it would be added to the overall GPA with all of the classes added in together.
Yeah, right, yeah, not just and so you have a great tool, that tool, you sent that out, and that was really cool to kind of mess around with, so I kind of messed around with it, right?
We all did, yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so, because my kids weren't top of the class, they were middle of the road kids, and, if you look at kids that get A's and B's, and if a kid gets an A-, they can't ever recover, right? So your data said the freshmen didn't care because they don't know, right? They don't know what they don't know, and that's where my kids were. And so if you have a hiccup, right, and we kind of talked about that was, we don't want them to make it so they can't recover. And I would recommend that you lower that a little bit, because if I used your tool correctly, and if a kid takes no weighted classes, so I just went to the extreme of taking no weighted classes, and they stuck with your total of 48 classes that you had in your example there, I think was the one, they would, to get a 3.7, they would have, if they got 9 A's, 36 A-, 2 B+, and a B, they would get a 3.7. And they took no weighted classes. To get a 3.75, they would have to get 16 A's, 29 A-, 2 B+, and 1 B. I kept the B's and B+ the same, just kind of messed with the A's.
Sure.
So my point is those are students that get very high grades, and they wouldn't get recognized using that grading scale. So that's where I was coming from of, if you lowered it to somewhere in that 3.7, 3.750, something like that, it would capture some kids, and I think we ought to recognize them. I don't think we should keep it to, we only want 80 or 100 kids or a certain percentage. I think we should recognize kids that go above and beyond. And I think a kid that gets out of their 48 classes, 45 of them are A's or A-. I think they should be recognized as that. That's just my opinion.
I appreciate that. And we'll definitely continue having those conversations. And looking at that information for sure. Yeah,
and then, sorry, I'm taking up.
No, this is why we're here.
So then there were, if you go back to your classes, I couldn't find, and maybe the names of the classes changed, but there were some of those classes that we didn't have in our current curriculum guide. And maybe that's because they changed. And I know the chemistry one is one we talked about, right? So that's a extenuating circumstance. The elementary chemistry and elementary chemistry lab, I think that's, you're changing schools or something to that effect. So that, I could get that one, but the one at the bottom on the educational technology, the UND course, is that a different course? Because I couldn't find that in the curriculum guide. Maybe you had to change the name. My reason, and then the intro to engineering design, and principles of engineering. Were those going to be new classes, or?
Those have been classes that we've offered,
Okay.
so yeah.
Maybe I just couldn't find them in what we offered as early college or AP dual
Yeah,
credit
we'll definitely take a look at that.
in the current curriculum guide. So I just wondered if they were coming to us to get approval, if they were brand new, but if the names might have changed or something like that. And then I think that was, oh, so I'll go back to the communication plan. So what's your communication plan to tell all these people what's going on?
Sure. So first things first, it'll go into our curriculum guide. And so, this is something that's going to affect, curriculum, GPA, graduation courses and things like that. Like that's the first thing is once this has been something that's decided and we feel like it's this is where we want to go and this is what we want to do, then it's going to go to the curriculum guide. And then at that point, that's going to get communicated. Our curriculum guide gets communicated out at class meetings. It gets communicated out to students in scheduling conversations. Like at the junior high, at the high school, our counselors they send out information via email, they've sent out videos before, but then they actually go and meet with, in the past, they've met with English classes to go through information and changes and courses and what to sign up for. And so this would definitely be something that's discussed with them. It really wouldn't affect, though, the current high school students. So this would really be a conversation that,
Yeah, like incoming freshmen.
Exactly.
Want to know that.
And then this also gets communicated out in our scheduling meetings. We also have parent meetings, like for scheduling. Our counselors do, they do an incoming freshman night as well for all students that are coming in as a freshman. They communicate that out that way. So the grade weighting side of things wouldn't be part of the scheduling conversations for current high school students because that's not going to go into effect for them. The Latin honors would. And then those 8th grade parent meetings, those 8th grade student meetings, those scheduling conversations, all of that would be talked about and discussed there.
Okay, and then, I know graduation, so how would you do graduation differently, but still keep it under an hour?
Sure.
Mr. Bowles?
I'm just saying.
Under an hour.
Is that a challenge?
Sorry to curse.
No, I just want to know.
Yeah.
Mr. McKinney, is that a challenge? Is that a challenge?
It was 59 minutes last
It was.
time.
It was.
But if we have a good thunderstorm, that's even better, right? Because that makes it go fast.
One of the things that we're looking at is for students who have those recognitions, the cum laude, summa, magna cum laude, will be cords
That's
for
what
them.
I've seen some other schools do, yeah.
At graduation to show that. I would
That's
love to
great.
see a rainbow of cords, out there for students and things like that, just all sorts of colors for them. And then in terms of speech, like at graduation, we've talked about the idea of it being a application process for it to be potentially senior class president to do the speech. So we're still kind of toying with that a little bit, but I know that when we've talked to other schools about what they do, those have been the two that have typically come up.
Yeah, so Westfield had an application process where anybody could put in a speech to give, and then they approved it. I don't know how they did it, but that's just what they said.
Yeah.
And besides the course we talked about in the program, there's a
Yes.
designation of the
Yeah.
program as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate all the
We
work.
just have to have a lot of symbols in our program now.
Yeah.
And all
Have a
new
whole page
seals,
of symbols.
Yeah.
6 new seals, H cords.
Yeah.
But I appreciate all your work, thank you, and the time that you've answered some of my questions. I know that in our board update, those were all my questions that I had the first time, so.
He answered one just right now with the speeches and how you're gonna do all that, but my son will be one of the first, he's an 8th grader, so he'll be one of the first ones to do full implementation of this. And I respect what Mr. McKinney was saying about bringing it down a level, but you said you had 25, right? 25 students in the class of last year's graduation class that would have fallen into the summa cum laude, right?
It was 24.
24 of them. So if you lower that, are we lowering the bar? And because you keep mentioning competition, are we creating more competition by lowering the bar?
I think it's a good conversation to have.
I'm just, you know, if we have 25 already, you know, I don't know, it just.
So the year before that, it was 12. So each year could be, you know, slightly different. And so if we looked at the grade wage for the class before that, so it wouldn't be the same every single year. So, but that's definitely a good conversation to have.
Well, and I think that, go ahead.
I was just gonna thank you for bringing this to us, because while it may seem like a very small population of people, which it probably is a very small percentage of students that, you know, can compete for this, this will get certain parents hot on the college. So I want to be educated on
No,
it
I
so
get
that
you.
I can defend myself when this gets brought up. So
Yeah.
I appreciate you bringing this forward.
And the idea, again, is to recognize those students, because we have really high achievers, and so to really allow those students to be recognized, so.
Yeah, well, and my thought was that, you know, there are two sides of the competition coin, and that's always going to exist among high achievers. So I don't think our only aim in this is to address competition. It's multifaceted, and I think that I don't want to have a conversation with kids about necessarily them focusing on to the right or the left, but their own individual achievement, that's forefront in their mind. That's what we're trying to accomplish. And I don't want to lower the bar necessarily, but I see your point, Brian, with the kids who get A's and A minuses. But I also see that there's a good number of kids that are fulfilling these requirements already, and that makes those really special. And to earn a reward is a good feeling, not just to be given one. And so I can see, you know, the argument both ways. I think the kids are still going to want to know, what number am I?
Oh,
You know, am I 95 out of 100? Am I 97 out of 100? That's not going to take that conversation away, but maybe it'll make it a little healthier. And I'm glad you're going to still be able to say, well, here's your number, because they do put that on their college application, and whether we call it valedictorian or summa cum laude, magna cum laude. We're just putting a different name on a similar process. But I like this process, and I appreciate all your hard work on it. My other thought, or my question was, for the current 8th graders who are taking high school credit right now, do they know, well, they don't know that it's weighted, but that's going to be a piece of the puzzle.
Well, so none of those courses are weighted that they're taking.
Yeah,
But it affects their high school GPA.
It does.
correct. That is correct. And you can get hosed from the very beginning if you take that class and you mess up.
Yeah.
My kids have experienced that. You get an A minus or a B plus, you can never get a 4 plus.
Right, as an 8th grader.
Yeah.
And that's just a sticky
Two
wicket.
classes.
And it's another one that's, you know, it's the two-sided coin. There are kids who are 8th graders who, I'm glad they have an opportunity to take high school credit. They're ready and it's appropriate, but it also is a time when they're getting a grade that's going to affect their GPA in high school. And I know you're well aware of that, Nick, and the concerns around that, and the parents will have questions about that.
No, I think that's a great question. We can look at GPA calculations, and I'm not going to trust myself to do that in my head.
Yeah,
Right now.
But it's the forefront of kids entering 8th grade to know, right?
Yeah.
Like, we can
Yeah.
stress that with current kids going into 8th grade, taking these courses.
Yeah, so
And
one
we-
of the, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, we saw the response from the freshmen.
Yes, that's right.
And so, in your mind, calibrate that for an 8th grader too. They
Yeah.
have no idea.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And that's something that we try to address already, even before this conversation with Latin honors, because, you know, students who would take algebra, biology, and now those other courses, you know, we do communicate that those do affect your GPA. You know, we do already communicate that. But this would be another layer to that.
Yeah, so I mean, it just changes it a little bit. But it's just, it is what it is, it's there. We wanna offer it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good point, though. And again, we're still kind of having those conversations, so I appreciate that.
Mr. Hacker, do you have something you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what the format was, if I had to get permission.
I think we're having fairly open dialogue
Okay.
here,
The
so.
president's allowed to call.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's in charge.
I would love to hear what you have to say.
I'm just thinking, I've seen a couple different sides of everything, and from a kid who's trying to go into high school with a goal of being a valedictorian and doing 4 sports and pressure, and then if you can't take a study hall because it lowers your percent. You know, one kid takes a study hall, they drop below another kid. And if you take weightlifting, you're going to lose a spot. And some people at the high school, I mean, my daughter's been told, well, your parents are putting too much pressure on you. And she says, no, I have a goal of doing this. My parents want me to be happy and do what I want to do. Then she's had this year someone say, well, you're a certain percent. You need to calculate what it's going to do if you take this class and not that class. So, you know, I see that. I like the system that he's brought forth to you, because you can still recognize good kids, which I have a son, he wasn't all the way up here, but he would have been fine to have a goal to shoot for, you know, and we're all different, you know. You have middle of the road kids, maybe they can take certain classes to get what they're doing. But, I think that's, you know, kids worry about, I mean, there are 3 or 4 of them now that we're all agreeing to take these classes, and if somebody decides to go rogue, which wouldn't happen. I mean, I could see a parent saying, hey, guess what? If you take these classes in the summer, so.
Thank you, Mr. Hacker. I appreciate your contribution to the conversation. Any other board members have any?
Probably have more questions, I see. It's a lot to digest.
Do you want to ask it tonight?
No,
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
I
already over it.
Yeah.
feel like at New Palestine Community Schools, we spend a lot of time talking about what's best for kids, and I truly feel like this is what's best for our kids and for our students. And you do not want me applying my Purdue math, because I think I took 1 class for my English degree to this problem. I mean, it's a problem to solve. We've got to solve what is going to be the best thing for our kids. All schools are different in regards to the body, and I appreciate all the work that you've put into looking at it thus far, and there will be a solution. I don't know that we're there yet, but there will be a solution. And then, and I love the way that you are applying it to the different grade levels so that it doesn't negatively impact work that students have already started. I think that's great. I think that's going to be really tricky for our counseling department with all of the things, but
We've had a lot of conversations
work
about
it out.
that.
Yeah, they're great, and I know they can do it. So,
I appreciate that. And it's definitely been a team effort, though, for sure. So with the high school and a lot of people. So thank you.
thanks, Mr. Mitchner. We appreciate your time
Thank you.
tonight and all of your
Nice
work
job.
on this.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda is informal comments. Do we have any informal comments this evening? We do not. Thank you. Board member comments. Mr. McKinney?
Well, I said a lot already, but.
That's okay. You have more to
Yeah,
share.
well, I had my notes, I was taking notes. We're closing out the first semester, so we're, less than 2 weeks away from closing out the first semester. We had a really successful fall season in a lot of aspects, and we're moving into our winter season of athletics, academics, and all that kind of stuff. And I truly enjoy recognizing our students and staff, all the AP scholars, and kind of biased towards Brandywine a little bit because that's where my kids went and that's where I live. But I like to recognize everybody, and I think it's just great that we get to recognize the people that affect our kids on a daily basis, right? And interact with our kids, and we got to experience that today, so that's pretty cool. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Hooker?
I was just going to say, from a state championship perspective, it was really nice to, my seats were across the field from the New Pal section, and just to look across and see the sea of red and black from the students.
Red and white.
Yeah.
just to be clear.
But in any sense, obviously achievements on the field were great and a great season, but I think it speaks to who we are as a school and as a community that there was such great support there. I know as a former long time ago athlete at this school that that kind of stuff sticks with you. That's why you come back to live in communities like this, because you want to be a part of something that's winning and supportive, and it just means a lot to the students and to showcase our town and who we are. So kudos to everybody.
Mr. Walker.
Yep, like in case you lived underneath the rock. Here in Palestine, we won the state football championship, and congratulations to the coaches and team. It was awesome. I couldn't talk for a week after that game. My throat was all sore. But yeah, great stuff. And like Mr. McKinney said, I have a special place in my heart for Brandywine Elementary, my elementary alma mater. And I'd actually like to get a photo after this with you or the group with our shirts on. That means a lot to me. So well done out there. And a brief story I told Mr. Theobald as he was walking by, but my son had a basketball game tonight, and as I was running out the door to make sure I got here in time, a little girl, I wish I would have got her name, stood up and she saw my shirt. She goes, "Oh, I go to school there. I go to school." She was so excited. And she recognized this shirt, and I said, "Well, it sounded like you did a good job," gave her a high five. But, your students are really excited about this too. I think that girl just lit up to tell me that she went to school at Brandywine Elementary. So good stuff going on out there.
Awesome.
Yes. Well, now I can say I have accessories and clothing from every school in the district. This is the only school my kids didn't go to. And my kids were like, "Why are you wearing a Brandywine shirt? But we wear Sugar Creek." I love them too. Yeah, I'm just super proud of Brandywine. Go Bulldogs.
Mrs. Eastis.
Maybe a little known fact, but Austin and I did go to high school together many moons ago. He's slightly younger than I am, but I am over the moon, just so proud of him. He spoke about his teachers tonight, but he has the it factor as a principal, and he knows how to build success, build culture, and I'm just so proud of him. And I've never seen so many donations before on one board agenda. So grateful for all of them, and just want to call special attention to all of those who donated for our staff wellness fair and training that day. Just knowing the generosity of our community, but also their support of our teachers is incredible.
Thank you. Dr. Pleak.
I had a list, but I'll paraphrase it. So just,
You don't have to. You say everything you want to say.
No, I think this will sum it up well.
Okay.
I love New Palestine Community Schools. I am blessed to be the superintendent, and winning is fun! Exclamation point. There we go.
I know. I was thinking about that on my way here tonight. We have so much to celebrate, and I wanted to share that Mr. Theobald attending the your celebration and Day of Yes event was just magical. It was outstanding. It was so much fun to see your staff and your students, and then all of the parents and community members who came and wanted to celebrate too. So thank you for the invitation. We very much enjoyed it, and we were proud to be part of it. The football, I mean, what other, I can't say anything else about the football event. It's amazing, and if you didn't hear Dr. Blake, it appears that Coach Ralph was named the Colts Indiana High School Coach of the Year today. So that just happened today.
And go on for the national competition. Yes, very deserving, not surprising.
That is amazing. And can I talk about it?
You
can?
Yeah.
We were also invited this morning to join the staff at MPE and the cabinet to celebrate Mrs. Brenda Sellers, who has been employed by the district for 47 years. And a representative from the Indiana Department of Education came to present her with the RISE Award. It was a special event to witness, and we are very proud of Mrs. Sellers and all she has given to our school community over the past 47 years. Yes. One of two in Indiana.
And she's going on for the national competition for the national level, for
And we've got
classified
the
employee of the year.
celebration.
Yes, we are. So it feels like, as usual, I feel like every month we have so much to celebrate here and so much to be thankful for. So on that note, could I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, I'll proceed to, we will proceed to vote. All those in favor indicate by saying yes.
Yes.